The colony of New Horizon was a small cluster of metal habitats on the desolate, rocky surface of Kepler 186f. For years, the settlers had eked out an existence on this distant planet, holding on to the hope that supplies from Earth would eventually arrive. Their communication equipment had been damaged in a storm 2 years ago, leaving them cut off from the rest of humanity. Earth, ravaged by war and famine, had little to spare for its distant colonies, and the settlers had grown accustomed to waiting in silence. Life on New Horizon was hard. The planet's soil was barely arable, and their hydroponic gardens yielded just enough to keep them alive. Every day was a struggle, and every meal was a reminder of their tenuous hold on survival. The children of the colony, born on this alien world, had never known anything else. They played in the dusty corridors of the habitats, their laughter a rare and precious sound amidst the constant grind of survival. One evening, as the colonists gathered in the communal hall for their meager dinner, a commotion erupted. A 12-year-old boy named Liam had been caught stealing extra rations. He was dragged before the group, his face pale and gaunt from hunger, his eyes wide with fear. "We can't tolerate this," said Elias, the colony's leader. His voice was stern, but there was a tremor of desperation in it. "If we don't maintain order, we'll all starve." Liam stood trembling, tears streaming down his cheeks. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I was just so hungry." A heavy silence fell over the room. The colonists looked at one another, their faces etched with worry and exhaustion. They all understood Liam's desperation. It was a feeling they all shared. At that moment, a woman named Maria stepped forward. She was in her late 30s, with dark hair streaked with silver and eyes that had seen too much suffering. She placed a gentle hand on Liam's shoulder and turned to address the group. "Look at this child," she began, her voice steady and strong. "Look at his face. He is not our enemy. Hunger is. Despair is. We've all felt the gnawing emptiness, the fear that this day might be our last. But we can't let it turn us against each other. If we do, we've already lost." Maria paused, her eyes sweeping over the assembled colonists. "We've been waiting for years, hoping for a miracle that might never come. Earth is a world in turmoil, and we can't rely on help from there anymore. We have to face the reality that we might be on our own for good. But that doesn't mean we have to give up. It means we have to fight even harder. Not against each other, but against the forces that would see us fail." She knelt down beside Liam, looking him in the eye. "We are a family here, Liam. And in a family, no one goes hungry. We share what we have, even when it's not enough. We take care of each other. We find strength in our unity." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Elias nodded, his expression softening. "Maria's right. We can't lose sight of our humanity. We'll find a way to make do, together." Just as Maria was about to stand, a chill swept through the room, and the light from their star, which had always been a constant presence, dimmed noticeably. The colonists looked at each other in alarm, then rushed outside, their hearts pounding with fear. Above them, the sky had darkened. A massive asteroid loomed, its surface a jagged landscape of craters and cliffs, careening toward their planet. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a harbinger of doom. Panic spread through the colony. Shouts and cries filled the air as people scrambled to find shelter, to protect their children, to make sense of the incomprehensible. Maria stood frozen, her mind racing. The asteroid was a cataclysm that no speech, no amount of bravery could stop. But she knew she had to try. She climbed onto a nearby rock, raising her voice above the chaos. "Everyone, listen to me. We have to stay calm.
We need to get underground, into the emergency shelters. It's our only chance. Elias and a few others quickly began organizing the panicked colonists, guiding them toward the shelters they had built for such emergencies. Maria helped shepherd the children, her heart breaking at the fear in their eyes. As they hurried into the shelters, the ground began to tremble. The asteroid was drawing closer, its shadow casting a pall over the landscape. Maria took one last look at the sky, then followed the others into the relative safety of the underground refuge. Inside, the colonists huddled together, holding on to one another as the tremors grew stronger. The sound of the asteroid's impact was deafening, a roar that seemed to shake the very foundation of their world. Dust and debris rained down, and the shelters creaked under the strain. After what felt like an eternity, the noise subsided, leaving only the sound of ragged breathing and muffled sobs. The colonists remained in the dark, unsure if it was safe to emerge.
Maria held Liam close, whispering words of comfort even as her own heart ached with fear. Finally, Elias spoke, his voice hoarse but determined. "We need to check the surface, see what we're dealing with. Maria, come with me." They cautiously climbed out of the shelter, their eyes squinting against the harsh light. The landscape was unrecognizable, a desolate wasteland of craters and shattered rock. The colony itself was in ruins, the habitats crushed and scattered like toys. But the colonists had survived. They had made it through the worst, and they were still together. Maria looked around at the devastation, then back at the people who had become her family. "We're still here," she said softly. "And as long as we're still here, we have a chance. We can rebuild. We can start over. And we can create a future where no child ever has to steal to survive." Elias nodded, his eyes filled with a newfound resolve. "We'll do it together. We'll make this world our home, no matter what." As the sun began to rise over the ravaged landscape, casting its first light on a new day, the colonists of New Horizon stood united. They had faced the darkness and emerged into the light.